What's going on, guys? It's John here from Hot Take Hockey to give you a recap of Game 1 between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if you are watching this recap, hit that subscribe button, hit a thumbs up, and comment your opinions on this game. What a game this was. I think we have to analyze this really deep into the stats and really deep into what happened here, because obviously this is a little different. Everyone predicted the Bruins were going to come out again in their first two home games and clean the Leafs up. And now the Leafs come into Boston for Game 1 and win this one 4-1. So obviously a different way to start the story for this series. I'm going to talk about the players of this game, but first let's talk about the goal summary. So early in the first period, Brad Marchand, beautiful on the power play. So this was a power play due to William Nylander's high stick after him getting hit. Some people were saying it was kind of a retaliation play from Nylander there, but regardless, Bruins on the power play, Leafs need to kill it off, but Marchand, beautiful play. We talk about Marchand, just his play style, a little bit of a rat, I guess people could say, but such a smart player. He comes up the left side, high on the left side, and you wouldn't even know that he saw Bergeron there, but he feeds Bergeron cross ice on the right side. No one there to cover him, and Anderson had no chance at this. Bergeron beats Anderson to put the Bruins up 1-0. Sorry, and the Bruins, I would say, had probably the extra step in the first period, but I wouldn't say compared to like last year, the Leafs weren't getting bullied in any sense. I would say, in terms of just analyzing it, I would say, yeah, the Bruins were probably the better team in the first period, but it was close, and I don't think the Leafs were getting bullied in any sense, and I think that's a key word to probably use because of the Bruins. But Mitch Marner, after one post, Marner gets the rebound, slaps at it, hits the post, I think it hit Chara, and then went in, so the Leafs tied it 1-1, and you could tell the Leafs were trying to just hold off for the rest of that first period just to get a tie going into the second, and that was just perfect. And then the second period, I could be wrong on this, but I think the Leafs had three or four breakaways, at least three, but four, and just beautiful. Just a beautiful period from the Leafs in terms of possession, in terms of 5-on-5, but the Bruins actually had more shots. So if we go off shots, that ended up being pretty close. The Bruins ended up with 38 shots in the game at the end of the game. But all in all, I wouldn't really look at that too closely because I think the Leafs missed a lot of opportunities. So did the Bruins, but I think the Leafs missed a lot of opportunities as well. The second goal, Mitch Marner gets tripped up on a breakaway, and he gets a penalty shot. And this one we'll look at a couple more times if you want to go look at the highlights. But Tuukka Rask maybe could have poke-checked him here, but oh my gosh, I think Tuukka Rask was just mesmerized what Mitch Marner did to him. Quite a few fakes with the magic hands that Mitch Marner has, and he does score on the penalty shot to put the Leafs up 2-1. And the third goal, I was giving heck to Kadri and Nylander and Marleau, like that line in the first period. In the second period, they came out with some wheels. Kadri is that type of player that once he feels the momentum, he's a perfect playoff third liner. He knocked the Brust down like 2 or 3 times, but on this play, just a beautiful play coming up the left side. Just a perfect time saucer pass to Nylander streaking down the right side. Nylander goes all alone on a break and beats Rask through the 5-hole. Rask got a piece of it, but it still squeaked through. And 3-1 Leafs going into the third period. Third period, I think the Leafs had a lot of opportunities. Before Nylander scored, Leafs were up 2-1. Matthews came fresh off the bench, hit the post. He couldn't really catch a break, but I think for Matthews, and a lot of people will say, oh, Matthews again doesn't get a point, but honestly, I can look at it and say if Matthews heats up in this sense throughout the series, watch out Bruins. We're talking a lot about also the players for the Bruins in a sec, but then going to the third period, before the second period ended, again, Rask, huge save. And I want to just touch on, actually, I'm kind of going back and forth here, but I just want to touch on the fact that a lot of Bruins fans I saw on Twitter were ripping into Rask. I think Rask actually had a good game. Maybe he wants that Nylander one back, and maybe he could have done something on the penalty shot, but are you kidding me? I mean, a rebound like that off Mitch Marner goes off of Chara. You don't blame him for that one. You don't blame him for a penalty shot, regardless of what you think he could have done. And the third goal, it still was a breakaway. So as much as you could say, close up that 5-hole, he allowed 3 goals, and all 3 goals were just prime opportunities from the Leafs. Like I said, a rebound where he was he made lots of movement side to side, and that was a whole mess from the Bruins defense on that first goal. Second goal, penalty shot. Third goal, break from Nylander. So the fourth goal, like I said, they did win 4-1, and 4-1 doesn't really settle good with the Leafs in history against the Bruins, obviously. But Tavares, we could talk a little more about how the third period was just affected and what happened in the third period. But regardless, the fourth goal came from a really smart play from Tavares. Bergeron cleanly won the face-off, and this was like with less than a minute left, and Tavares actually dived to intercept the pass and put it in an empty net. So 4-1 Leafs. Let's talk about some players. So we can talk about the Bruins losing team. Like I said, I think Rask played well. For the Bruins defense, I actually thought Chara didn't play that great. This might be a little bit of a hot take to some people because Chara always has the hands. He's still physical. Other than Chara, like, being borderline physical and playing that playoff hockey style, he actually had a lot of turnovers. He was getting beat. I think, and this might attribute to why he was struggling a bit, I think players on the Leafs were realizing, and Babcock might have been like stressing this enough, that once Chara gets the puck, he's slow with it. Like, get two guys on him. And I saw multiple times whether it was like a Hyman Tavares or like a combo of like Janssen Kapanen, but they were like hamming Chara like big time. And like, for me, I just look at that and say, wow, they're really noticing Chara's him slowing down. So I think that's something to look at. I think McAvoy played okay. A guy like Brandon Carlo, he's pretty he's not like a overperformer. Like, you don't notice him, but you don't notice him. I thought he was physical in some plays. Obviously Clifton was in the lineup as well. I think I saw a couple plays where, I mean, even the Matthews, when he was coming through the neutral zone, Clifton looked like a Martin Rich or a Hedman. He looked like a Hedman on David Savard there. Matthews cutting around Clifton like that. For the Bruins offense, I don't think it's anything new. I think looking at Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, they were dominating in a lot of sense. I would say, though, looking at the end of the second period and first half of the third period, I don't think they were like there. I think it was really crucial if the Bruins wanted to come back in this game for that line to explode, and they weren't doing it when the Leafs were up 2-1 in the second half of the second period, and then Nylander scored, and then coming out of the third period, they weren't doing it, and I really only started seeing shifts from them. I think it was like 12 or like 11 minutes left in the third period, which, I mean, there's still time. 2 goals in 11 minutes. I mean, the Bruins definitely could do it against the Leafs, but I think they needed more from that. I thought the Heinen, Coyle, and who's the other guy on that line? And Johansson, I thought they were okay. Johansson, I didn't notice a lot. I thought Coyle was playing that aggressive playoff style. I thought Heinen he obviously had a couple opportunities. I think that line had probably 1 or 2 shifts where they were actually a little scary. But I think this game proved that although Nylander and Kadri, and I thought Marleau is like, whatever, he's obviously slowing down. I think that's another aspect to look at, but he's still a smart player. I think that line was super slow in the first period, and then once they got their wheels going and the Leafs got that second goal, I thought Kadri and Nylander were playing actually really well. There was a couple times where it was like Nylander not receiving a pass, a giveaway, but other than that, I think Kadri and Nylander were flying. You saw it on the goal. Matching up with the second lines, I think you saw it a couple times. I think Matthews' line is not really fit to match up against the Bergeron line. I think obviously Babcock's not too uncomfortable with going with that matchup, but obviously you want Matthews to get going, and I think the only aspect to look at it at is if you have Matthews at that line, then Tavares and Marner are free. So that's obviously the positive. I thought Tavares and Marner I thought Tavares played pretty well. Marner, I should have started the video, but Marner was obviously unbelievable. I think he came less visible in the third period, but I didn't want to start off the video like Mitch Marner, because I could have. Mitch Marner was the best player, like, no question, in the first and second period. Like, no question, he was the best player on the ice for the first 40 minutes. He was still really good in the third period. He made a couple blocks, he caused a couple turnovers, but in that first and second period, he dominated. I thought Zach Hyman had actually a great game. Hyman always causes havoc. He was getting Marner the puck. I thought Hyman had a great game. So Leaf players that struggled in some parts of this game, I'd say Kapanen. I thought Janssen looked a little tired towards the end of the game. I thought the Leafs fourth line, especially on the road, was really good. So I thought Gauthier, Moore, and Brown were causing a lot of havoc. They had a couple opportunities there. For the fourth line of the Bruins, Wagner, Nordstrom, and Achari. Achari was aggressive. I think Nordstrom, he missed an open net on that one opportunity with Wagner cutting on the backhand. And yeah, they were okay. I think obviously the aggressiveness, the playoff style was there. But I think in terms of matching up, I think the Leafs fourth line were a bit better tonight. I think the third line for the Leafs was a bit better tonight. Again, Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand, you just kind of have to slow them down. You can't really match up against that line. I think obviously the closest for the Leafs would be Marner, Tavares, Hyman, but still you can't match up against that line. For defense, I thought Gardner wasn't as visible, and that could be a good thing. I would mark 2 shifts where I just looked at, like, Jake Gardner, have you not learned yet? But you know what? You got to cut him some slack because he didn't make as many mistakes as we've seen in the past. It was just those 2 shifts where it was the one where I think Coyle hit the post. I think it was that shift. And then the Bruins had 2 or 3 opportunities there. And then it was another one where Gardner pinched and it ended up turning into like kind of a 2-on-1. But I think it was Janssen that came back. It was someone that came back. So just 2 points there where I just watched Gardner. But other than that, I think the Leafs defense were great. I think Riley, as much as he wasn't this superstar, was creating stuff. I thought Muzzin, being a bit like a guy that has a lot of playoff experience, I thought he played well. And I think Zaitsev, guys that like Zaitsev, Hainsey, they get a lot of hate. And I mean, especially for me, I'm hard on those guys because I think obviously those 2 guys specifically being in the top 4 for the Leafs right now as the lines go. Obviously, sometimes those guys make a lot of mistakes, but I thought Hainsey played well tonight. Got a couple shots on net. He was aggressive. Same thing with Zaitsev. I think he played a pretty simple game, and that kind of shows on the scoreboard. He only allowed 1 goal, and just kind of finish off strong here. I think Anderson played phenomenal. I think Anderson was the better goalie than Rask, obviously. Again, I think Rask played well, but Anderson played huge. And I think you got to be that goalie that's huge in the net. You got to be that goalie that's clutch in the net. And I think Anderson was exactly that. So that's my little recap, guys. Obviously, I don't want to make it this long video. I want to get my points in. Shots, I'm going to look at shots. But I know faceoffs were 50% piece. Shots, 38-33 for the Bruins. Bruins 1 for 2 on the power play. Leafs only had 1 power play opportunity later in the game. They couldn't get one. It was Chara, who, like I said, I think had a lot of borderline plays on his part in terms of aggressiveness, in terms of just like whether it's like a cross check. And going back, I think Trevor Moore got beat up a lot tonight, and there was a couple of non-calls on him, but that's playoff hockey, right? And you got to realize that sometimes. Hits in favor of the Leafs, 33-31. I thought, again, I think my one worry about the series, and I'll say this now, is if you have to play Tampa second round. But I will say Columbus looks like they might give them a beating. But if you have to play Tampa second round, I think out of all the series, I think the Leafs and Bruins are going to beat each other up the most. So I would look into that as well. But yeah, I think that's my recap. Obviously, I'm excited here in Toronto. Leafs, big Game 1 victory, 4-1. Thank you guys so much for watching this recap. If you have not yet, hit the subscribe button, hit a thumbs up, comment your opinions on this game like I said. This was John from Hot Take Hockey. Lots of Leafs Bruins content to come. We're going to go talk to fans. We're going to do street content. It's going to be a lot of fun. So look out for this channel. And I really do hope you hit that red subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. And show me the love. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace out.